Next up in the most frequently asked questions is under the category of dog safety and handling, and the number one question asked within that category is how many dogs can I walk safely? How many can you walk at once, safely? And again, this is all going to depend on your skill, your skill set as a dog walker and a dog handler. So it's not going to be the same for every person. So it depends on how many you're comfortable. So it depends on you. Like I've seen people like walk up to 8 dogs, absolutely no issues, and I've seen people walk 3 dogs and have loads of issues. So again, not only is it just about your skill set and how comfortable you are walking a certain amount of dogs, it depends on the dogs themselves as well. Like I can walk like 6 dogs on lead that are all super well behaved, and we can walk absolutely anywhere, no issues. They don't react, they don't pull or anything like that. So 6 depending on them dogs, I would class that as a safe amount. The only issue you could have in that scenario is if a dog came running up to you and started getting tangled up in leads. That's where the real issue can lie, is like when you get a dog that starts circling around you, and if your dog starts circling around you and you're not prepared for that, it's really easy to get tangled up in leads, which is why I use my short gun dog leads, because as soon as my arm's there, the dogs are all tight and I can guide them around easier. But anyway, that's about the equipment. So, and it, like going back to it, like I can walk the 6, absolutely no issues, and have a really nice peaceful walk. But I could go out with 3-4 dogs. One second, Ted, come on. I could go out with 3 or 4 dogs that are absolute nightmares on leads. They're reacting to things. They can pull on, they're pulling on the lead. They're dragging you around. They're always in front of you. They can't walk in a straight line. They're going around back of you. Them 3 or 4, them 3 even, would be harder than the 6. So it depends on the dogs on how many you can walk safely. So when you're planning your groups and your dogs and stuff like that and where you're going, you're taking the dogs that you take into these places into account. Like an easy 6 or 7 dogs would be safer than a really hard 3, because like if you've got 3 pulling and one's pulling you over there and other one's pulling you back there and other one's scrambling to get to whatever in lead, that would be an absolute horrible group, by the way. If you've got them 3, they could easily pull you over, you could slip over. So that wouldn't be as safe as the 6. But again, like take into account, if you've got 6 big dogs and they're quite strong and you're only quite petite, and they do decide to pull for whatever reason, you could easily get knocked over or pulled over or whatever. So it is kind of hard to gauge when you're asking sort of like about like how many dogs can I walk at once safely. Again, down to you, your skill set, your confidence level and dog handling skills, and the dogs themselves. So it's a combination between the both, and obviously where you're planning on walking them. I would say if you're not comfortable at all and you're worried about walking so many dogs, don't take any more than 3 at any one time. But if you are quite confident and your insurance and the dogs are well behaved enough, then 6 could be safe, but it could be too much. Like I say, 6 dogs, if all these 6 dogs start doing something different because the dogs interrupted your walk, they get tangled up, it's easier to get untangled from like 2 or 3 leads than it is 6, obviously. So if you've like got 6 dogs and you get tangled up, that wouldn't be that safe. So yeah, it depends. Like I say, it depends on a few factors that I've just mentioned. So just take it into account when you're making your groups. Next one, which I'm surprised isn't first. What should I do if a dog gets off leash or runs away? Now, this has happened many times. I think it was only last week, maybe the week before, when I'd come in through the gate. A lady was coming through, just a lead, no dog. And she was like, hi, my dog walker's actually up here and the dog's got off lead. It's a flat-coated retriever or whatever it was, and it's running around the moors. It will come back to her. Now, that is an absolute ball ache. So yeah, it does happen and it is an issue. So what to do about it? And again, it depends on the dogs as well. Like, so there's 2 scenarios. Dog gets off lead, or you drop the lead, or it slips its collar and it buggers off. Now, the dog might be on lead because it's recall's paw, or it might just want to play around and not come back to you. Very, very tricky. Or it's spooked with the other dogs, so it don't want to come to you because you've got other dogs in the group around you. It might not want to be next to these dogs, whatever. Different things. If this kind of thing happens and it gets off lead and it's bouncing around and it's playing, but it might not want to be left. So, either, if you can, clip the dogs. I always carry like a big carabiner or a big clip, so I can hook the dogs onto somewhere you know, ask them to sit, try and get the dog to come back and, you know, get back to me that way, because it might not want to come near the dog. So clip the dogs like a couple meters away from you, and then make your way towards the dog, crouch down, you know, get it to you, that kind of thing. Some dogs are just going to bounce around and prat around if they're off lead. Easiest way to do with these is just try and like walk the other way, call the dog to you, keep it coming with you, following pace, keep calm, don't start screaming or anything like that. Get as many of the other dogs on lead as you can, walk the opposite direction as long as the dog is following you, and eventually, you know, maybe scatter some treats, try and get it into a sit, let maybe one of the other dogs that's quite playful off to play with that dog and tire it out. Eventually it'll sit and lie down, and then you can just grab it from there. Or, like, obviously this question is probably aimed at the more serious scenario where the dog slipped its collar or you've dropped the lead and it's beelined away. First thing to do in that situation is, depending on the dog, like, why is it running, what's it running from, stuff like that. Get as many of your dogs as you can back on lead, control the other dogs, and then walk and make your way in the direction that dog ran. If you see anybody at all, you can ask them, obviously, to keep an eye out. It's got a number on, stuff like that. But now, like, depending on the dog, is this dog, do you know this dog well? Is it a good dog? Is it just going back to the van? Is it going back to the car? Is it just making its way to the gate because that's where it wants to be? Do you know what I mean? It depends on the dog. But if you're not sure at all and you cannot see that dog and you're worried about where you are, it's big open moorland, first thing you should be doing is ringing the owner. You know, explain the situation, tell them exactly where you are. Just stay calm, don't scream, don't panic, nothing like that. Just walk calmly in the direction it's gone and keep walking around with the dogs clipped to you. Keep control of the situation. Like, sometimes if we've ever, like when we've had a dog, not one of my dogs, but when somebody's come up with a dog off lead and they've lost it, I send him, you there, Donna? Yes. I will walk him around with me off lead, and when I see the dog, if he spots it, I send him and he can go play with it. Anyway, that we're getting sidetracked there with him. Yeah, call the owner, stay calm, tell her where you are, get her up here and walk around in the direction the dog went and ask people as you see. And then obviously it's a very hard thing to deal with. It's very tricky. You've got to, yeah, because obviously if you've got this dog on lead and it's not supposed to be off lead, then there's obviously a reason that recall, spooking, not good at stuff like that, not good with other dogs maybe, you know. So stay calm, ring the owners, tell the situation, tell her where you are, get them up here, clip your other dogs on, walk in the direction it went. And when you see it, that's why I always carry a whistle, because sometimes it can break them out of that flight. If it's severe flight, then they're not going to break out of it with a whistle, but for the most part they could potentially break out of it with a whistle. You can get them into a sit, catch them, or what have you. Yeah, very tricky situation, but like I say, depending on the dog, depends on how you handle the situation. You know, experience is going to give you that knowledge on what to do. But again, a couple of things, if you're worried about slipping its collar because it's loose or it's a shit collar, gun dog, slip leads. Absolute favourite. No dog's ever going to slip out one of these. And then if you are worried about dropping the dogs and you want to eliminate that, get yourself a belt, some carabiners, and put the handle onto the belt, the carabiner. Keep them clipped to you, so even if you haven't got hold of the lead, you know, it can't go anywhere. Just eliminate the, if you're worried about it at the start and it's a concern, then eliminate that concern at the start. Get yourself a belt, get some carabiners, some clips, clip the bloody leads to it, put them on a slip lead. They can't slip out of the collar, they can't run away from you. Problem solved before it's even happened. The next one is, how should I deal with aggressive dogs or dog fights? Now, in the context of your groups, you should really not be trying to take aggressive dogs on, or dogs that are super reactive, into a group setting. You can do this if you've done it before and you are well versed in behaviour and you can integrate them right with the proper dogs and things like this. Something could always go wrong, but if you're not clued up on the behaviour side of things and how dogs are going to behave, and you can't catch these warning signs and how they're acting, then you don't want to be putting aggressive dogs with other dogs. Something to monitor. Yeah, so just don't take them on at the start unless you're comfortable doing so. And even then, if you're taking on a very reactive dog, put them on a muzzle so they can't nip. That would be another way. Obviously, some clients may not want their dog going out with an extremely reactive dog, so you've got that to think about too. But if you do ever, I mean, like, even if you've got really good dogs, all it takes is one dog to perceive something as theirs, as something high value, and I don't care what it is. I've seen dogs perceive puddles and sticks and rocks as a high value thing, you know, and they've snapped at other dogs. And even if they're not aggressive dogs, these things can happen. Now, if that dog snaps back, escalates into a scuffle, there's one thing that I do, and again, it depends on you as a person and how comfortable you are. Like, if the big lad there got hold of another big lag and he redirected onto me, which could happen, you know, it's going to be a little bit different as to whether or not a little cockapoo redirects onto you. But anyway, if you do have a dog fight, I try to, I'm always monitoring the dogs anyway, so it's kind of hard to say because I don't let it happen. I will look at the signs, I look at the posture and everything, and I get in there and I go, shh, like a really big shh. Yeah, just like that. Sometimes it's enough to break them out of it, but sometimes if full adrenaline is going and they've got hold of each other, it's really tricky, because if you don't want to get yourself in the middle of it, then you're going to have an issue. And obviously grabbing them by the scruffs, lifting them off, if they're locked on, they're locked on. There's not much grabbing the scruffs going to do. Now, in the scenario, this wouldn't happen, but I will use the dogs as an example. Big lad got hold of my Labrador, or anything, like if my Labrador got hold of the big lad or whatever, I don't care which way around it is, and they have locked on and they're gripping on and they will not let go, the only way you're going to get that dog off is to put one of these round the neck, pull tight and up, and slowly make it so that the wind is, I know this sounds mean and people might not like the idea of it, but in the scenario where they've locked on and they're in a fight, you know, you're gonna have to choke them out till they let go, straight back on leads, get them separated, back to car, do whatever you need to do that way. But like I say, in a less severe scenario where there are just like, they're swinging their handbags and they're just making a load of noise, they're just going, that's my stick, whatever, you know, the noise, and going, hey, something like that, hey, big claps, shh, big noises is enough to sometimes sort of snap them out of that mentality. And as soon as that happens, you get them dogs back on lead and control the situation. Yep. But again, it's kind of a loaded question. It's really hard to say, like, because it depends on the dogs and you as a person and how you handle the situation. It's not going to be the same for every dog or for every person. It's very situational, dependent on how you go about it and the dogs, what they're going to do. And same things to go, like if you see a dog coming up off lead and your dogs are on lead, try and get as many of your dogs on lead as you can. If you see an off lead approaching dog, I keep all the dogs behind me and I just put my welly in front of them, go away, you know, to the other. I try, you know, sometimes it's happened before. Like, I'll tell you a quick story. I had him, I think 5 others, maybe. We came through the lead and just up this track here, an off lead Rottie, a big Rottie came running up to me from another dog walker, and the dog was not listening to the recall, beeline straight up to us, and I had these dogs on my leads, and as soon as this dog came around me, I just rotated the dogs, pushed them behind me, kept my foot in front of them, kept pivoting, and I lifted the lead so my dogs couldn't lunge forward. Again, it's a little bit different because, you know, I'm me, but if you're a very dinky woman, you might have a little bit more issue try to do that. But as soon as I got chance with my other hand, I put my hand in the collar of the Rottie as it came around me. I grabbed hold of the collar, twisted so it went into a figure of 8 and lifted up, and as soon as I did that, the Rottie were up off on its back feet, stuff like that, and it couldn't get anywhere. And I just held it there until they came and bloody put it on a lead and got it out of where. Yeah, unfortunate situation, but that's how you handle these sort of things, and it is very hard to sort of explain how to do it. If you've never done it, it's tricky, situational stuff, yeah. Then the last one was, what responsibilities do I have if a dog gets bitten or injured, or if a person, like I say, if one of these dogs gets nipped and stuff like that. It's your duty and responsibility to look after absolutely everybody within that party. What's going on here? your duty to look after these guys and anyone involved. So if, for whatever chance, if these guys nip anyone, obviously you need to make sure that they're all right. This is what you've got your insurance for. If one of the dogs get nipped or injured and you think it's bad, first thing you need to do, take pictures, record everything, see how bad it is, take them to a vet if necessary. Contact the owner first before you take them to a vet, depending on the severity. If they've got like a nip to the, you know, the face or the nose, it's like coat. Like, I mean, I come up here and there's always stuff in the grass. There's been a couple of times where dogs have come back with scratches and stuff on the nose. You know, I take a picture as soon as it's happened, record that situation, tell the owners, see what they want to do. For the majority of the time, for something like that, they don't want to go into the vet. If a dog ends up with a serious bite from another dog, like, you know, we've just talked about aggressive dogs, record it, clean it. I've always got a dog first aid kit. You know, I've always got a dog first aid kit. I clean it up, take pictures, send pictures to the client, let them know what's happened. Do they want me to go and get vet treatment for it? That sort of thing. If it's a person, you need to go through insurance, make sure that everybody's all right and see what they want to do. Again, it's all situational stuff. Again, your duty and responsibility is to make sure that everybody's cared for, safe, looked after, not in any serious injury, and yeah, and do everything accordingly. This is what you got public liability and insurance for. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for this one, guys. I will have a look at the next category, and we will do that. While these guys are just finishing off their last bit of energy before the walk ends. I will see you guys in the next one.